So you see I'm just moving up the A minor and major pentatonic, again the combination. So the goal here is first of all to learn how to play the lick, and then second of all, again, how to change it into something that you can find useful. So let's start at the beginning here. So what I'm doing is I'm sliding into the 6th fret, okay, which for those of you that know your chord theory, I'm sliding into the major 3rd, which is where this middle finger is right here on this bar chord. I'm sliding into that note with my middle finger, and then I'm going to the 5th fret of the 2nd string. I'm going to pluck that twice. And again, I'm giving it a shuffle kind of feel as well. Now, as soon as I do that slide in and play those 2 5s, I'm going to slide right away to the 9th fret of the 3rd string with my middle finger again, and then play the 8th fret with my 1st finger. So I'm doing the same shape in a different place. And then I'm going to move up to the 11th fret and do exactly the same thing. And then I'm going to move up to the 14th fret and do again the same thing. So it's the same exact pattern 4 times. And then simply to get out of the lick, what I'm going to do is a bend on the 15th fret. Now, like so many of the other licks we've been talking about, with this particular lick, depending on the speed that I take it at, is going to determine whether or not I should play this whole lick as down picking or alternate picking. So if I was doing it nice and slow, or even with a straight rhythm, but as I get faster, it becomes more and more imperative that I use alternate picking. So what I'm doing here is simply playing down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, over and over and over. Which, if you think about it, means the first time I do the pattern, I'm doing down, up, down. The second time I do the pattern, I'm doing up, down, up. The third time I'm doing down, up, down. The fourth time I'm doing up, down, up. So watch very carefully here. Now I find that easier because it's consistent for me. I'm not thinking about whether or not I'm starting or stopping on a down or an up. I'm simply playing down ups the entire time. Okay, if you try and do this and it feels awkward to you, by all means you could play down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, if that seemed easier for you. To start with a down each time. And please always remember that as we go through all these licks, it's important for you to understand that you need to adjust them to what feels most comfortable to you. I will always suggest ideas of things that I would like you to try, but if you try it and it just isn't making sense to you, by all means, get a hold of me and ask me questions about it, or simply try and revamp it a little bit so it makes sense to you. Needless to say, when you start any lick, as we're playing it very slow, the most beginner idea to think about is to pick everything in a downward sense, like when you play your scales and such, when you first start learning how to play those. But as you get better at those and the tempos increase, obviously at some point there's gonna become a wall where you can't really get past that unless you start learning how to alternate pick. And that's why I'm always going to suggest that you give those ideas a try as you continue through these licks. So anyway, really cool. So I've showed you how the lick goes. Okay, pretty neat. There's lots of different things that we can do with that. But here's the other thing to take this lick to the next level is I want you to think about how every time you shift up, you're in a new position. Now, you're either looking at the fretboard, again, as we've talked about many times, you're either looking at the fretboard as minor pentatonic, as major pentatonic, or most importantly, as a combination of both major and minor pentatonic, which is really where the bread and butter of blues lies. And so as I'm playing, when I do this, I'm in that first position of minor pentatonic, with the major pentatonic over the top like we've talked about before. again, if it doesn't make sense to you, please go back and review some of the things we did in the first couple of DVDs, because that's where all of this stuff is discussed. So when I do that lick, I could set myself up to do another lick or an idea inside here, right? Or when I move from here to here, well, now I'm in the second position of minor pentatonic. And I could do something there. So the great thing about this lick is that you could use it as just a lick, or you could use it as position shifting. So I'm going here, I'm in another position. Like for me, I would play major pentatonic there. If that sounds familiar, it's because it's another lick that I've already shown you. So I can use that, and that's what's great about the fretboard, is the more I can break down not only how to play a lick, how that lick is going to make me a better player in terms of my technical ability, my visual ability, my flow, phrasing, all those sorts of things. But from a visual guitar standpoint, how can I use the licks to slide into other licks or slide into other movements? Because again, that's really what a solo is. It's a combination of ideas, whether they're licks or phrases or patterns, which is what this 96 Blues Licks is all about, or it's motion, right? When I get into a position, being able to move around in that position and then lock into another idea and then do that and then move around. So I might be playing this lick and I get up here and I do something up there. So I'm making my way up, already knowing when I get up there, I'm going to create something new. I'm going to use one of those other licks or phrases or patterns, right? So let me do this. You see? So I'm moving from one idea to the next. And at any one of those 4 stops along the way, I could have done something else. So again, it's kind of a deep concept, but it really is the essence of learning how to truly free yourself and be able to solo across the fretboard.